Just before I called you." "All right," Mason said. "That apparently brings us up to date on that. I take it you haven't seen her since I arranged her release?" "Oh, but I have," Addison said. "I gave her a job. I called her up at the Rockaway and suggested she interview the personnel manager at the store." "When did you do that?" Mason asked. "I did that shortly after she was released from jail. You telephoned me from the lobby of the Rockaway Hotel, I believe, telling me that everything was fixed up and that the girl was in a room, so I telephoned back shortly after I received your call. You didn't tell me about that. I haven't talked with you since. I mean, you didn't tell me you were going to do it. Damn it, Mason, do I have to tell you every time I turn around? It's sometimes advisable to tell your lawyer things. Hang it, Mason, you act as though this girl were poison or something. You seem to have some trouble getting her out of your life. Don't talk like that. I tell you the girl's a pure, sweet, lovable child. Any blackmailing, I take it, is purely coincidental," Mason said. "You're damn right it's coincidental," Addison rasped. "Wait until I tell you how it happened." "That," Mason announced, "is what I'm waiting for." "Well," Addison said, "when Veronica Dale called on me, I gave her a frank fatherly talk. I told her that she couldn't expect to go drifting around the country, particularly at night, without having embarrassing experiences. I told her I didn't want to alarm her unnecessarily, but I called her attention to some of these sex murders that have been taking place around the country, and then I sent her down to see the head of my personnel department. And gave her a job. I suppose she was put to work. The fact that she came to the personnel department with a card from me should assure her of a job. I naturally assumed it had. I didn't even bother to check up on it. So as far as you know, she's working for you in your store right now?" "I would say so, yes." "All right, what about Dundas?" "Well, this man Eric Hansel called me up and said he wanted to interview me in connection with a newspaper story. A little character sketch for one of the columnists, was the way he expressed it. Well, you know, Mr. Mason, a man in my position cannot afford to offend the press. I am not averse to publicity. I never have been." "No," Mason said dryly. "Well," Addison said, "the interview was entirely different from anything I had anticipated. Mr. Hansel turned out to be a red-headed, flippant young man of a type one is more accustomed to associate with racehorse touts than with reputable newspaper people. I found him very disgusting and very impudent. He asked me a few questions about my life, my partner, and my business affairs. Impertinent, personal questions, asked with an air of arrogant impudence. And then, when I was on the point of throwing him out, he wanted to know about my relationship with Veronica Dale. The thing absolutely flabbergasted me, Mason. This man seemed to have gone out of his way to get a lot of facts. He evidently knew that I had telephoned the manager of the Rockaway Hotel, and went on to tell me that George Dundas was going to publish something about me in the gossip column, and wanted to know if there was any truth to the rumor that I was intending to marry Veronica Dale, a young woman who had been established in a downtown hotel through my connections, and arrested for vagrancy that same night. I'm afraid I lost my temper, Mason. I shouted at him. I told him to get the hell out of there, and he merely scraped a match on the underside of my desk, lit a cigarette, looked at me patronizingly, and said, "Okay, fatso, we'll run the story." Imagine, Mason, in my own office, this young, insolent whippersnapper referred to me as fatso. A certain lack of respect, Mason said, carefully refraining from glancing at Della Street. Lack of respect? Addison exclaimed. It was the height of insolence. So you threw him out? Well, Addison said, the situation became somewhat complicated. If Dundas should publish anything like that, you'd sue the newspaper for libel, Mason said. But, Mason, there are certain damnable facts. That is, the facts themselves are innocent enough, but it's easy to see how they could be distorted. As Hansel pointed out, they could marshal a certain set of facts. I had brought Veronica Dale to town. I had telephoned the manager of a hotel, insisting that the young woman would be given a room, stating that I would vouch for her. She had been arrested for vagrancy. I had hired my personal attorney to get her out on bail and see that the case was dismissed. Then I had given her employment in my store. I naturally wouldn't like to see those things in print. You can understand my position. It's innocent enough, but, well, there are those who would cock a cynical eyebrow at the whole thing. The sequence is unfortunate.